Great. We have still some people going into the waiting room. I'm gonna be alone there. So great. So welcome everybody. Good morning. It's very nice to see you here. We're going to start this session. As you know, this is going to be a little bit different from what we have done previously. Today, we're going to have a talk to the editors. So the idea is that we're going to ask them and see their perspective of what they're expecting for publications on our field. And from that, what we want is that we have a large interaction with you. So we welcome all the audience to make your questions. You can raise your hand. You can write in the chat if you want for us to read. But the idea is that we have an open conversation here, so you understand what you can do to improve your chances of publications and what you can do if you want to aim your publications to the prestigious journals that you have the representatives here. So welcome everybody. Welcome to our editors. Welcome Gina, that is president of our chapter in Latin America. She's gonna lead the session from now on. So welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. And Gina, you have the floor.
Okay, I think you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a real pleasure to welcome you to this special session. I want to begin by thanking each of you for joining us today. I would also like to extend my thanks to our distinguished speakers for sharing their time and expertise with us. This is a unique opportunity to hear directly from those who shape the academic conversation in our fields. Whether you're a graduate student, an early career researcher, or an experienced academic, we hope that the insights that we will gain today will help us navigate the publishing process more effectively, avoid some pitfalls, and position our work for greater impact. So let's listen closely, let's take notes, and let's take advantage of this chance to ask questions. Maybe the advice that we're going to hear today might be the key for next publication success. The chat is going to be open for questions during the whole session. So we have some base questions, but if you have any question during the session, just go ahead and write your questions in the chat. So I'm gonna share my screen to give some information. Let's see, I think that's this one. So hopefully you are seeing my screen right now. So I just want to give some information about our chapter. This is the board. Today with us we have Agatha da Silva. She's our VP Meetings. I'm the current president for this chapter, which is part of the POMS organization, which is worldwide. Diana Ramirez is the regional VP Americas. We have also on our board Edgar Gutierrez, who is our vice president. Carla Tejada, she's VP for Communications. Sofia, the secretary, and Oriana Calderon, who is the treasurer. I want also to take this chance to invite you to our next conference for this chapter, which is going to be in Panama in 2026. Don't miss it. Here is also some information about how to join the chapter. This we can share this information with everybody, so you can join later. But if you're interested, you can also contact us, and we will let you know details about it. And then here we have some information about the session that we have today. So basically, we have here three editors from different journals. One of our invited editor is Mahyar Eftekhar. I hope that I have pronounced it in the right way. So Mahyar is associate professor from Carey School of Business. He earned his PhD from HEC Paris and joined the WP Carey School of Business in 2014. He currently serves as an associate professor of supply chain management and holds the Harold E. Fearon Fellowship in Purchasing Management at CAPS. His research focuses on international development and humanitarian operations. Mahyar, he is senior editor for the POM Journal. He's associate editor for MSOM. He's also co-editor of a special issue on operations management for developing economies for MSOM, and he's part of the review board for JOM. I think I didn't miss any information. So thank you, Mahyar, for being with us today. We also have Dr. Hernán Cáceres. He is Executive Director of the National Institute of Lithium and Salars. He is also Associate Professor of Universidad Católica del Norte in Chile. He holds a PhD in Industrial Engineering with specialization in operations research. He has served as Dean of Engineering at Universidad Católica del Norte, and he was director of its Science and Technology Park. An Antofagasta native and passionate musician, Hernán is deeply committed to integrating science, technology, and regional development in the context of critical minerals and energy transition. Hernán is associate editor for Socio-Economic Planning Sciences. And also we have Adriana Leiras. Thank you, Hernán, also for being here. And Adriana, she is professor of industrial engineering at PUC in Rio. Her research is focused on humanitarian operations and sustainable development. She coordinates the HANDS Lab and leads a CNPq research group on logistics and humanitarian operations. Adriana is a former president of the POMS LAC chapter. She also has served as its ex-officio advisor. Adriana also leads a regional project for the MIT Scale Latin American Network. So thank you, Adriana. I would like to pass the word to our invited speakers, so you can have some also the opportunity to say some words in case you want to share some initial thoughts with us.
Hi, I can start. Hello, everyone. I'm Adriana Leiras. I'm a professor in Brazil, and I'm here representing two journals. One of them is the Journal of Humanitarian Logistics and Supply Chain Management. I've been associate editor since 2021. This is the only academic journal focused on humanitarian logistics, and we focus on operations management and supply chain management problems in the humanitarian context. So we look for research rigor, managerial relevance, but with different methodological approaches. And I've been, since last year, I've been also editor-in-chief of Production Journal, which is an open access journal edited since 1990 by the Brazilian Association of Production Engineering. And it serves as a key platform for disseminating academic research in production engineering and operations management. This journal is indexed in Scopus and in the process of being indexed in Web of Science too, so could be an alternative for different research, not work specifically in humanitarian operations. I'm glad to be here today and open for questions.
Thank you, Adriana. And I think I forgot to mention the journals where you act in the editorial board. I'm sorry. As Adriana was saying, she is editor-in-chief for the Production Journal, and she's also associate editor for the Journal of Humanitarian Logistics and Supply Chain Management. Thank you, Adri. So, Mahyar.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and hello, everybody. Well, I think you introduced me pretty well. However, the only thing that I want to mention is that whatever I answer is basically my personal opinion. I cannot really talk for the journals because, journals, as you know, they are, usually department editors or editor-in-chief, they are in position to talk about journals' view about things. I can talk about my own experience as author and, of course, as reviewer. I can talk more about this MSOM special issue because I'm, co-editing with two other colleagues. But just about the special issue, I'm more comfortable to talk about. Well, I hope that my comments could help you.
Thank you, Mahyar. And that's precisely what we want. we want you to talk from your personal opinion, from your experience, besides the official information that we can find on the website of the journals. Sure. So thank you. And Hernán?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. I think it was very accurate. Well, as associate editor of the Socio-Economic Planning Sciences Journal, I think there are key aspects that I want to share with you that I've seen through reviewing or being the editor of several papers. So there are key aspects, I think, from our journal that I would like to highlight in this talk. Our journal is International Interdisciplinary Journal, and it tackles or wants to publish research that other specialized journals may overlook. So there's this key aspect. I think it'll be valuable for anybody interested on publishing, or maybe anybody who doesn't know who that can publish the work also in this journal. So that'd be interesting.
Okay. So thank you, Hernán. So as I said, we have some, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. We have some base questions, but we are open to the questions from the audience, and also if you as our invited speakers consider that there is something valuable that you want to share, so don't be shy and just go ahead and share your thoughts with us. Our first question is, what do you think that makes a submission stand out in a positive way?
Should we start with Adriana?
I thought words, huh? Okay. Okay. From my point of view, I think every journal looks for good contribution. So to have that, authors should spend as much time as on theoretical development as on empirical research to build strong theories and strong contribution. And also spend time on the shop floor if you are talking about manufacturing process, or if you are looking at services, humanitarian operations, engaging with practitioners is also a good way of having access to good research questions. And focus on emerging topics that like clear answers could also help in finding good research questions, which are alone doesn't make everything else, but it's a good starting point to develop of a strong methodology that could lead to good contribution.
Okay, thank you, Ari. So you think it's mostly a matter of the contribution, highlighting the contribution, and also having this, let's say, this close relationship with, for instance, practitioners, and to tackle like real questions that may have a great impact.
Yeah, not only I highlighted contribution as a key key issues in writing papers, but structure. We have a structured way of writing papers that reading other papers may help in finding that this way.
Okay, thank you. Mahyar,
Yeah, I can go next. So I think for me, when I look at the paper, you know, at large, a paper with a simple and real story stands out. So if you have a simple and real story and honest effort to solve it, because sometimes it's just, you know, it actually, it's very clear when researchers really are dedicated to solve the problem. Writing, of course, is important. I mean, think about it. When you work on a research project, it takes 2 years maybe, or 1 year, well, long time for you to work on it. So it's complex enough. And therefore, when you present it, you need to present it in a way that a reader can immediately understand in 4 hours or 5 hours reading the paper. So you have to be able to explain 2 years of work in 4 hours. So structure and writing matters much. And finally, while we try to solve a real question, what matters is that we need to be conscious that we are writing a paper for an academic journal. So it cannot be completely engineering type paper. It must be a paper that could contribute to the science of operations management, to the science of logistics, or the area that you're working in. I think that these are the key aspects for when I read a paper. These are things that clearly make a paper different when I read the paper and you know, make a decision about that.
Okay, thank you so much. I wrote down simple and real story, honest effort. That's wow. I think those are very precise concepts to keep in mind. Thank you, Mahyar. Hernán.
Thank you, Ina. Well, I think, well, I'm always going to be talking from the perspective from our journal, the Socio-Economic Planning Sciences. I mean, first of all, it's an international interdisciplinary journal. And we publish quantitative and analytical research, and we aim to improve planning and decision making. So that's key, I think, because something that happens when I'm seeing some submissions, sometimes the journal is confused with an economic journal. So sometimes we see a lot of statistical models, econometric models, but in this case, it's not just about the analysis or the statistics of it, but the connection with the decision-making relevance. I mean, anything that is supposed to be modeled here in a potential publication in this journal should clearly link the analysis to the real-world planning or policy application, balancing the scope and the impact, for example, and also showing some interdisciplinary integration. So having multiple fields being integrated for addressing complex problem, but always thinking about how this modeling or effort of explaining some phenomenal issue can be utilized to affect change. And so that connection sometimes is not clearly stated, and though there may be a lot of very good quality research behind what is being submitted, because there's not a clear link to the decision or how it can change some policy, it doesn't make it a good fit for the journal. And this is well explained, the scope, and I know that this applies to everything. You have to read the scope of the journal, but I think the link with decision making in this case, it would make the submission stand out from the rest. So I think that that's a key aspect, and I think I'm going to be repetitive with this, but very important to make the linkage to the real application, or at least show a state the potential. If public sector could utilize this, what would be the effect? At least making a connection or a suggestion. That would be a first, a fundamental step.
Okay, thank you so much, Hernán. So Hernán highlights the importance of the decision-making component in our submissions. I think that applies in general to journals in operations management, operations research, logistics. So I think that's a key component for the journals that we usually aim in these fields. I don't know if Adriana, Mahyar would like to add something based on what Hernán said, or if we go ahead with the next question. Okay, so let's move forward. So we have talked about what are those things that make a submission stand out in a positive way. Now let's talk about the other way around. What are the most common reasons for rejecting a paper? What are some typical but avoidable mistakes that you see in submissions, either technical, conceptual, whatever? From your experience, what are those mistakes that you often see and that maybe we could avoid?
I can start. I think the most important problem is writing. Writing is very, very important. And I guess we all learn how to write a paper over time. It's not an easy task. A lot of time, if you have unclear language, if you have loose statements, and this is very important, loose statements, and maybe it's not correct to say in a panel or share with others, but I'm going to share it. Years ago, when I was PhD student, one of my PhD advisor made a very, very good comments once to me, or advice. And he said, when you write a paper, it's like you are walking in the court. So you need to be careful with whatever you write. And that was excellent advice. When you're writing a paper for, let's say a recognized journal, I think journals have their own jargon, they have their own, criteria, but overall, when you submit a paper to a journal, you should know the journal pretty well before submitting the paper, so that you are somehow aligned with the journal mission and of course the journal jargon. But at the same time, you need to be very careful that you need to avoid any kind of loose statement. You need to be very careful. Every paragraph, every line, there should be a reason for putting those. Sometimes what I see is that when I read the introduction, I see that the authors are making really, really big promises that they cannot deliver. I would avoid this kind of, big promises. I would write my paper like in a more modest way. I'm not saying that you should undersell. I'm not saying that you should, you should sell your work, but of course that's part of it. But But at the same time, you need to be very careful. You need to promise something that you deliver in the rest of the paper. And these are very important. And finally, something that I guess is like a typical mistake is that, of course, we have some journals that are method-driven. Like we all know, some journals, they just, promote empirical research. Some journals, they just are looking for operations research articles. But a lot of journals that we have, like for example, POM, MSOM, Management Science, a lot of journals, they basically are interested in general OM problems, right? Therefore, I think that there is this misconception that people think that they need to have a very complicated method in order to make sure that their paper is accepted. I don't think that it is the case. At least this is what I feel, or what is my sense. I think what matters is that whatever method you use, you make sure that the method is correctly applied. And correction is important because you need to make sure that, and the reason is very simple. If the method that you apply is not correct, then nobody can trust the result. So the correctness of the method matters, not the complexity of the method. These are two different things. And I hope that people, pay attention to these differences. I myself, I never applied complex methods. I don't know complex methods, but I try to be very careful when I use a method to solve a question. I try to be very careful to the best of my knowledge to make sure that the method is correctly executed. I hope it makes sense.
No, that was very insightful. So Mahyar has talked about avoid loose statements. If you have a statement in your paper, be sure that there is some reason for that statement to be there. Be careful with what you write. The introduction also, don't promise things that you won't fulfill in the paper. And also the last part is about correctness matters more than complexity in terms of the method. Thank you so much, Mahyar. Hernán?
Well, I would have to agree with everything that Mahyar said. Am I saying your name correctly? Hopefully. All right, cool. Yes, big statements should be avoided because sometimes, sometimes it's not backed by the actual work, or even sometimes the effect of the suggestion. So, for example, if you actually presented a complex model, but then the difference or the promise is not met, I think that I have to agree on that completely, and the writing as well. Sometimes you see not only what you try to say, but also sometimes even misspelling. It makes it really hard to actually try to understand the research that is behind the writing. And I know there is a challenge. English is the bridge language, so it's the only language that we can have in common everywhere. But that also implies that for the majority of us, it's a foreign language. It is a foreign language for me, and it is tough to write in a foreign language, and I understand this. But you have to also understand that this is the only way of sharing knowledge very openly and wide to the whole world. And so we do have to do the extra work of double checking, having somebody else read my writing and go through that extra steps that I understand that one part of the world doesn't have to go through that. The rest of us do have to, because that's the only way. There's always going to be, if we were to choose another language, it would be the same problem. But English is the language today, and so gotta make it right. And another, I want to make a personal comment now with the complexity modeling that sometimes I see. Sometimes I see research that is so focused in trying to explain everything. But you know what what I see sometimes is that data or real data, or when you want to push this complexity through the real world, because data has so much noise, there's actually no practical way that you're gonna see this complexity of the model being useful, because its exactness per se gets hidden among the noise of the real data, which is really tough to have it exact. Say travel times. Travel times, for example, have a lot of noise. And so a model that really tries, that uses, for example, travel time in a really exact way, it's not gonna get, you're not gonna get the usefulness, probably. And what I see is not that it's not useful, the complexity, but I feel that the data problem is not addressed. And so then it shows me that it's not clearly understood how you can take this problem to the reality. And then again, I make the connection that I was saying before of how you move this research towards a real application. And if you don't show that linkage, I think that it loses, in my opinion, it doesn't have all of the components. So that's one thing.
Okay. Thank you. So Hernán has been talking about we should be really careful with language, and maybe that's gonna be a greater effort for some part of the population of the world. But that is how it is. And also, well, he was talking now about how I think that connects with what Mahyar was also saying about complexity of the methods. Sometimes they are so complex that it is difficult to actually take into reality. And maybe because in real life also we have these issues with data, and it becomes difficult to actually have those complex methods working as we want in real life. And Adriana?
I just want to, in the interest of time, I try to be very fast, but I just want to, explain myself a little bit more. With writing, I never felt that my English is good. Clearly, I know a lot of limitation that I have when it comes to speaking, when it comes to teaching, writing. I think all you need is somehow you don't really need an excellent proficiency in English language or whatever language in order to write a paper nicely or fluently. What you need is to let me tell you a practical suggestion. When you want to write introduction, which is very important part of the writing of your paper, or very important part of your paper, I would always start with some sort of bullet point. What is that I want to write in my introduction? Write it in a bullet point. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are things that I want to put in my introduction. When it comes to your result, you wanted to talk about your result. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2. These are the key results that I want to share. Write it first, and then try to expand those bullet points, and then try to make them connected to each other, just a step by step. I think that might help. Again, we really don't need a very high level of, actually, you really, all you need is to communicate your result in a plain language so that it can be it can be easily understood with those people who read the paper. This is what I try to explain, But I completely agree. It's like what you said is absolutely. So it's, of course, it makes it more difficult for me, who is not English speaking, and that's not my first language. Of course, it makes it difficult for me. But if I know how I can use my skill, it makes it easier for me to communicate my result with others. That's just wanted to add this. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and Adriana.
Oh, I echo my colleagues. I think they detailed a lot the answer for these questions, but in general, besides the alignment with the journal mission and a very well storyline, design and storyline for the paper, I think just to get desk rejection, you need to have a well-defined scientific contribution, clear methodology, and updated theoretical foundation. But if you pass this initial screen until the approval, you still need to convince the reviewers, editors that what you are proposing is really insightful. And it could be for different methodologies. For example, if you conduct a systematic literature review as an end goal, not delivering good insights such as research agenda or taxonomy, it will probably not be approved. Or if you are going for a case study, but it lacks generalization, it's too specific for a specific company or country, but it doesn't connect with the broad scope of the research, it's difficult to have a paper approved. If you are conducting a survey, for example, but it's based on poorly constructed models or inadequate samples, it doesn't matter. And also weak theorization. There are some very well-known theories like resources-based view, dynamic capability, that have been used for a variety of topics, but without deeply contributing to the theory. So we need to be careful when designing a research and writing a paper. That's what I could complement.
Okay, thank you so much, Adri. So you're remarking the alignment with the scope of the paper, and also I think that also connects with previous comments where we need to really take care of the correctness of the method, also depending on the type of paper that we are presenting. So if you are, as you said, working on a survey, then you should take into consideration some aspects different maybe from other type of things that you need to consider if your paper is from other type. Thank you so much, Adri. I'm gonna take a minute to go to the chat. We have one comment from Rocio Romani. Rocio, you are welcome. If you want, you can open your microphone in case you want to address this comment yourself, if you are busy right now.
Yes, excuse me, I am not good, but hello, my name is Rocio Romani. I am from Peru. I work at the Catholic University of Peru. And less than a month ago, I took on the responsibility of service as editor in a in Peru called or named Peruvian Journal of Management. I hold a PhD in strategic business management, and it's a pleasure to share with all of us, no, with you this space. No, I also have several published articles and it's a pleasure to have here, no? And this is my comment in the chat. Thank you, Gina.
Okay. Thank you, Rocio. So Rocio mentions that she often observes that some articles present a weak theoretical foundation, especially in quantitative studies, where hypotheses are not clearly anchored in established theory. I think this relates to what Adriana was mentioning. She also notices methodological flaws such as insufficient detail in data collection and analysis procedures, which undermines transparency and replicability. And additionally, she mentions there is frequently a poor alignment between results and conclusions, where the interpretation extend beyond what the findings actually support, reducing the study's overall credibility. I think this is a very insightful comment. Perhaps I would like to add something from my side. I've been acting as a review editor of SEPS, and I also, I mean, I'm just gonna take a minute to state that the title of the paper is also an important thing to consider. My job as review editor is only to check if the paper fits into the scope of the journal. That's my screening, and then if I consider that it fits, then it goes to the editor in chief, and then it starts the whole review process. The editor in chief looks into more detail into the paper, and then the editor-in-chief decides if the submission moves forward to an associate editor office or if it's desk rejection. And so basically what my decision is, in great part, uh, based on the title and the abstract and the first part of the paper. That is what I look from the paper at the first moment. And sometimes when I look into the abstract and then into the paper, I see that the paper does fit into the journal, but based on the title, it doesn't look like it fits. So, on the other hand, when the title looks appropriate, then it's like I have a first good impression of the paper, and then it makes it more like more easier. It makes it easier to try to make the decision about if I consider it from the scope of the journal or if I'm more lean to a possible rejection. So what I'm just trying to say here is the title really matters. Sometimes we don't spend that much time working on a good title of our paper, but it does matter because it's the face, the first thing that we see from a submission. And maybe that will give you like a predisposition about what your final decision is going to be. That's the only thing that I wanted to add here. We also have another, it's a question in the chat. It's from Marta Torres. Marta, if you want to read the question yourself, you're welcome, or I can do it for you.
Hi, Gina. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I cannot open my camera right now, but I think it's okay like that. Yes? Okay.
Yes.
Well, I used to be chief editor in a journal in Colombia, which is the place where I was born. And still learning every single day, still learning about editing, about writing. Some of you said before, Spanish is my mother language, so English is, still difficult for me to write. And as I said before, I'm still learning from what the other editors do in all around the world. So my question was, you mentioned before that writing is essential Writing is a very important thing in well, in relation to a paper. So what's your opinion, any of you? I don't know, I don't need the specifically the opinion of every one of you, but someone who tried to share the experiences related the use of artificial intelligence to help us to enhance grammar, as I wrote there in the chat, fluency, for example, or I don't know, coherence between the paragraphs and so on and so forth. That was my question. Someone else shared a policy, like the AI policies across multiple. I already read that, but I mean, I think we're here to share, no? That's what enriches this scenario.
Yes, thank you, Marta. So yeah, I can see that. I mean, Marta's question is very interesting, and even though that we have these official policies, I think that Marta is looking for a more personal opinion in this regard. So I don't know, Hernán,
I think journals have.
I can.
If you look at the page of each, they usually have some sort of guide for authors or something like that they explain, I think, their policy about AI. I recently received this email from editor-in-chiefs of JOM about the use of AI, and as far as I remember, I think they said that they are fine with using AI if you want to edit, let's say your sentence or your paragraph, but generating content, however it is, of course, journals don't support that. So when you say that if the platform can help you or AI tools can help you to just improve the coherence of your right, I don't know if I don't know the boundary here. I don't know if that's part of it, because I know that some of these tools could also generate content, and I guess it's just a common sense. I don't think that journals are fine with AI generate the content, however. But I think editing should be fine. Right? I think editing the text is actually the simple use of AI tools, which I think would be quite reasonable.
Thank you, Mahyar.
By the way, I just wrote a book chapter, and I used AI to proofread part of my chapter, and I wrote it in my chapter that this was proofread by AI tools. I also mentioned that. So that might also add, some sort of, comfort to you when you just share it with that, okay, I used it for the purpose of editing. That might help.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Good.
Do you want to add something?
Can I?
Sure. Yes. Okay. Me first. Okay. Good. Well,
Okay.
yeah. I think a discussion of AI is very interesting. So when there wasn't AI, I know of some colleagues, and also this service was available, where you would write your paper in Spanish and you would pay for it to be translated. And I don't recall that this was disclosed on the paper. So I don't know how many paper has been translated by somebody else who is not on the list of author, or there's no knowledge of that. So it's interesting. If I use AI to proofread, why would I have to disclose it this time? But before I was paying for it, it's kind of like the same exercise. That is as a question for all of us. It's a question. I don't have an answer. I do agree that everybody should be disclosed, but I don't know why this wasn't disclosed before when you were using other humans to do this. But anyway, I think some key thing here is that you can put all of your paper through AI to proofread everything, but do read it after it. Don't ever, this is a personal encouragement to everybody, do read everything that AI gives you, because AI can be very creative, and it's also very optimistic. is gonna agree with you always. And so you could try to have better prompts. You can ask it, read this, don't change the underlying concepts, tell me before. So do tell the AI all of that, because otherwise it's going to be very creative, and if you're not, and you have to read it afterwards. Now there's a difficulty there. If you don't have a good understanding of English and you ask it to translate it, have somebody who knows English to read it. And that's a very difficulty, because if this other person doesn't know your work, also it's going to have a difficulty and making a difference between what AI may have suggested and what you have. And so it's not straightforward. Have some knowledge of English that you feel comfortable with reading. If you have that, you use it, and always read whatever it gives you. And so, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Hernán, I completely agree with your first question. And actually, I thought about that. You're absolutely right. I think the difference is what you just continued. You answered your question. When you ask someone to translate or simply edit your article, it's very unlikely that that person would add material into that in writing. But when you use AI, that's I think that's the fine line here, that you need to be careful that the platform is not adding, which actually could work against you. You might think that it is stylish, but it can actually work against you at some point, because it's not your work anymore, and it might come through. Anyways, but I completely agree with you, what you said.
Thank you, Adri.
From a point of view of supervising students, I think I have much more work in revising their text now than I had before AI appeared. Because you don't know if your students are using AI just to edit or make the text more clear, or generating content. So as supervisor, we need to be careful about that. So now I've started using tools to detect AI and ask them, what are you doing in this part? I can detect you are using AI, but which is your contribution? And different reviewers and journals also use those tools. So I don't want to be known as a research that is using AI indiscriminately, because the person who is reading the text may not judge if I generated the content or not. So I agree with the policy in the production journal. We have a policy of the authors declare they are using AI and for what. And we know that technology cannot be altered. They cannot transfer copyrights or declare conflicts of interest or respond to authorship carry. So they are not authors, but declare to what you are using AI. For me is important. It may differentiate good to not so good research.
Okay, thank you, Adri. And we are almost over with the session. I think time just flew during this session. It'll be, I think it'll be nice to have like a second version to continue talking about certain things. But before we go, here we have a question from Diana. Diana, do you want to ask the question yourself?
Hi, everyone, and nice to see you all. I know we don't have time. This is kind of a very long discussion, but I felt that maybe we didn't talk about rejection. So I wanted to ask about maybe a personal experience or something. How would you deal or recommend or any advice for those who have received rejection from your journals?
Hi, Diana. I actually saw the question and I wanted to take time to answer you. By the way, I hope that you are doing well.
I am.
We didn't talk about the rejection because we are very positive people. We only talk about acceptance. Well, we all get rejection all the time, right? My suggestion is just the following. First of all, you know that some journals openly allow authors to resubmit a rejected paper. MSOM is one of those, which is, I think, is great. So if you get a rejection from MSOM, you can resubmit the paper to the same journal, to MSOM. The only thing is this concern that obviously you need to make sure that the paper has, you amended the paper, and I think it is better because you don't want to, you don't want to get another rejection, and most likely there are some reasons for the rejection. So I think it's always good to work on the paper, solve those issues if possible, and then try it again. I think POM, for example, and many other journals, they don't have this, they don't allow for a paper that is rejected to be resubmitted. However, you can always ask the department editor if they allow you to resubmit the paper. So what you can do is that, for example, let's say that hypothetically, Gina is the department editor of operations strategy at POM, and she rejected your paper. I guess the best course of action is that you reach out to her and tell her that, hey, look, are you willing to give me a second chance if I answer this and that questions? And then that's the department editor's decision. Another good thing about POM is that the editor-in-chief has this policy, and actually you can read it at POMS Museum. If you believe that your paper was treated completely unfairly, you can reach out to the editor-in-chief and ask them to look at your paper one more time. So in that situation, the editor-in-chief is going to invite two senior researchers to review your paper. And this is POMS policy, okay? You can read it again. And then the outcome is either a minor revision or a reject. There is no major revision. So if you think that your paper has been treated unfairly, you can definitely reach out to them. But I guess it would be of your best interest if you make sure that either the comments that you received are completely off and you are able to address those, or at least make some clarification, or at least address some of those comments, because if that's like a hard rejection, it's likely that other people also treat the paper the same. So in order to minimize the cost, I would take another look at my paper. I would try it again. Not that it works, but it's actually, this is what potentially you can consider doing.
Thank you.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Mahyar. Adri, do you want to add something?
I echo Maya. What I do when I receive a rejection, if it's fair or not, I can't judge myself, but I try to do an exercise to look at what I've been doing, look at my research, and try to see what I could improve. If it's unfair, I may reach an editor and say, look, this is not fair, or the process was not so clear. And as an editor, I have also received this kind of request, and I try to give a proper answer, even reaching associate editors to make the process more clear, not giving a final answer myself. But as an author, I try to do, if I pass an initial screen, I will do whatever the reviewers ask me, or justify why I'm not doing that. that has a clear answer. And I have papers that I had 4 rounds and of reviews, and I just tried to keep going and did this exercise. And at the end, I learned a lot with the process. It's not what I expected in the beginning, but I learned it, and I have to be honest about that. So sometimes we need to keep in mind that for some good journals, high impact journals, you have to go to a 2-3 years of review process to get a paper approved. And if you are not able to wait for that, or to put too much energy to have this paper approved, you may just take your paper and go to another journal and make the trade-off about quality and fast publication.
Thank you, Adi. So I don't know if Hernán has some comments. The thing is that we are 6 minutes over time.
I agree with and Adriana. So yeah, I confirm.
Okay, before we say goodbye, so one thing is we want a picture of everybody. So let me see, how can I take the picture? I'm not sure. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take. So so right now I have, okay, I have Ari in the first in big screen.
You can put it down.
Please, if everybody can turn on your cameras, so you can just do it.
Okay.
And maybe while they're doing it, I don't know if any of the editors want to share some call for papers or some news that you have, like coming soon here.
And some final thoughts.
Yeah, some final thoughts.
If we don't have so much time, I invite everyone to check the website, but we do have a special issues available.
Great, thank you. Anyway, if you want to share with us, we also can share with the community any call for papers, special editions that you have. It's very welcome. Actually, you have
You
one
also
for
have
productions you're
Informs
gonna
webinar, and I hope you consider distributing among your members. I don't know if you've heard, but I can email you. I mean, Gina knows already. Adriana also knows. I think it would be great if you could, just invite people to join us, maybe at least this year or next year. You can submit if you want to.
Sounds great. Yeah, of course we can do that. So if you send us any information, and also the people who participated that told us that you are working with some other journals as well in Latin America, is very important that you can share all this information on the network. So it's very welcome. So I think that's everybody who's gonna turn on the cameras, and if you want, I can take the picture. So it's Maya. Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, so thank you. Thanks everybody, to the audience and to our speakers. I think this was really interesting, and it was very honest, the comments that we got from you. That's what we wanted. I felt that this advice, these thoughts were very real, and well intended. So thank you so much. We wish we could have, I don't know, like 2 hours more with you. But so yeah, I think it's time to say goodbye for now.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gina, for the invitation.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Be in touch.
Have a nice day.